Yeah. So, welcome once again. And today I have selected three verses from Gitanjali. So, starting with the first one to reflect upon, it's, O fool, to try to carry thyself upon thy own shoulders. O beggar, to come to beg at thy own door. Leave all thy burdens on his hands who can bear all, and never look behind in regret. Thy desire at once puts out the light from the lamp it touches with its breath. It is unholy. Take not thy gifts through its unclean hands. Accept only what is offered by sacred love. So let us take a pause and then we can share whatever reflections we have. Yeah, so if anyone is ready with the reflections, just please unmute and share.
Yeah, since
Yes, Sunil.
let me see whether I can make some sense out of it.
Please, yeah.
Uh, the burden that he's talking about is the burden that we carry from our past. That's why I think he's saying never look back in regret. And to me, it looks as though he's saying that, and which is true, that we do not realize that we are carrying this burden. That's why he says in the first sentence, carry thyself upon thy own shoulders. So we are carrying this burden from the past, all our burdens from the past. And unless we are able to keep it down, forget about it, we cannot reach the destination. And the best way to do that is to give it to Him, which is the unknown entity which we are seeking. I think that's the essence. And that entity is nothing but love. I think that's what I can make out from the 4 lines.
Yeah, thank you so much, Unni-ji. Yeah. So anyone who wants to share next, anything that resonates when you go through these lines?
I could go next. To me, it's the talking to that part of myself, oh fool, the ego, the worrying mind, the one that's carrying the burden of my future, of, yes, the past, of, I like Oniji's thing of, oh, you know, the past is very much there. I hadn't picked up on that. But there has to be a past to even have a sense of burden and myself in this identity of being somehow bogged down, you know, and then the mind carrying that identity forward, and leaving the space devoid of a higher power to help. And then, oh, beggar, to come to beg at thy own door. You know, it's like where you've used that about having the key, that we're in a prison, but we have the key. It's like coming to that there is a treasure within. The source of being of freedom is already there in myself, and still I act like a beggar, needing things. And then leave all their burdens on his hands is to me the divine or the mother. And then this never look behind in regret is it, to me, also reminds me of the number of times when something has occurred, it seems like it's for the best or like I've surrendered, and then I still question, you know, I still wonder, oh, but was that the right thing? Should I have done it differently? Should I have said something else? Like that kind of thing. Or I have a doubt in the divine's ways of how life is turning out. And then I think my favorite line is this next one. Thy desire at once puts out the light from the lamp it touches with its breath. So beautiful in the sense of, as soon as desire comes in, either of how I want something to be in the future, or this doubt from the line before of like, oh, should it have been different? Could it have been different? That's also an element of desire. And that even in this word breath, even one touch of it means it puts out the lamp of the divine or of something free and holy. And I think the it in this it is unholy is the desire. And don't lead my life, take not thy gifts through its unclean hands. It's like not to live my life or live out a situation being driven by my I sense or ego sense of what needs to happen in a situation, and accept only what is offered by sacred love of just, there's an opening. We've said some of in Mother's prayers, you know, how there's a line at the end which just opens, that allows the everything to be present, and yes, the divine as love, and to turn one's navigation needle to that. Yes.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing, Swapna. Yeah. So anyone else who wants to share next? Okay, so just come up whenever you are ready. In the meantime, I can share my reflections. So I think Unniji and Swapna already have covered widely enough all aspects, at least the aspects that were visible to us. But let us go over again, once again. O fool, to try to carry thyself upon thy own shoulders. We all know, we have aged enough to see that life actually can be burdening. Many times life overwhelms us with the burdens, as Unniji was sharing, something from the past, some clingings, some attachments which call you again and again to them, and you have no resolution that you are able to find there. So we try, the thinking mind tries to find resolutions by connecting the dots externally, but things have their own way of working, and most of the times we are not able to connect the dots externally to find a peace and a resolution in the external situation. So this is the burden that we carry of trying to fix things in life our own way, and most of us know that most of the times we fail, because maybe what you are wanting the other person is not wanting, what I am wanting, trying to make the other person understand, the other person look coming from some other maybe point of view or opinion is different. So we only end up in clashes, conflicts, and this burden on our shoulders, that when will this get resolved? I'm just kind of quoting a few just here and there, day-to-day life examples, and that's why I'm framing my sentences. And then, oh beggar, to come to beg at thy own door. We beg for a future happiness, that if this is fixed, only then things will be better and I will be content and happy. And hence we either beg to people, or we either beg to maybe the higher power, to make things right, to fix things up, to make everything in harmony, or whatever you are craving for. So I felt that it's also a point that everything, since it is only one, wherever I am begging, I am actually begging at my own door. So when I am begging at the higher powers feet, that is also my own door, my higher self. And when I am begging at the doors of other people, where nothing actually can happen, any time nothing can happen, there also I don't even know, but I am actually begging at my own door, because everything is connected, we are all one. So that is how I saw that. Leave all thy burdens on his hands, who can bear all. And this pains us, this that's why we have suffering. So much has been said on suffering and pain in human life, because when we carry these burdens of trying to resolve things in external situations, and only then I will be content, peaceful, and happy, we carry this burden on our shoulders. So he's saying that leave all thy burdens on his hands, who can bear it all, and never look behind in regret. So as I think Swapna also touched upon that the regret comes into picture, because I think Unniji was also sharing that our burdens do not feel to us like burdens. It's a beautiful recognition if I begin to feel anything that I'm carrying in my head and heart as a burden, because it is a burden. But while I am trying to navigate my way through it, I don't think that it's a burden. I want to do that. I want to fix things up. I want to be there in that unresolved state. And then never look behind in regret, because I think that there is something precious that I will get if I try to do it my own way, through my own head and whatever limited knowledge I have. But most of the times, all of us have seen that we fail. And hence we have to come back home. We have to come back home. We have to be content with whatever we have got and leave the dots unconnected, unresolved, because there is nothing you can do. The more you do, the more harm it seems to be doing. So the regret, I will not have regret. I think Swapna again was touching on it, that I have doubt, whether should I have gone that way? Was it okay that I came back home and, relaxed in myself and let the dots be, unconnected? Or did I lose anything on the way by not entering into that unresolved area and trying to fix things up my own way? So these things can come up in the mind that, did I lose anything? Did I lose anything by not able to connect those dots in external situations where I could have connected? So he says that never look behind in regret. So there is something higher that he's pointing to, that actually all, we have read, saints have said, masters, mystics have said that the treasure or the palace is right here. It's not out there. And we try to find happiness and peace by trying to fix outer things and situations, and gladly it never happens. So we have to come back home and realize that I am okay as I am. I have to be here, work from here, and no matter if I have lost anything out there, I have home. I'm with myself. So this is the biggest treasure, the contentment, the peace, the happiness that we have when we are at our home, within ourselves, in gathered consciousness, as Mother would say, or Sri Aurobindo would say. And then beautiful things on desires, thy desire at once puts out the light from the lamp it touches with its spread. So desire is unholy. Desire is unsacred. It is unholy, because whatever is given to me in this life is a gift from love, a gift from the divine. And if I yearn and yearn and yearn that yes, that should happen and that should happen, and only then I can be peaceful and happy, I'm just killing things up for myself. And we all see that happening in our own lives, that the more we hanker about something, the more we kill that little something in our life. So he's saying that desire puts out the light at lamp. So the moment the breath of desire touches anything which is beautiful, precious, any gift that I have got in my life, it just smothers that flame. It is that unholy, the desire. But when I was reading it, then I was wondering, why is desire exist? Why does desire exist at all on earthly material plane? And I would like your reflections on it, that what is the need of desire then, when it is so unholy and it corrupts things, and it puts out the light of contentment, the light of happiness, the light of peace. When it puts out that light, why is desire existing at all on material plane? So I would ask you for reflections on that. It is unholy. Take not thy gifts through this unclean hands of desire. It's very hard to navigate through this path, to keep our desires at bay, because they just spring up. And we were discussing in our other Friday, I think Friday study circle or some other circle, where the mother talks about desires, and she says that if we see desires as things coming from outside, they are not true to our nature, they are not true to our consciousness. And that is why whenever I run after a desire, I spoil the fun. I smother the lamp, the light of peace, contentment, and happiness. And then he says, accept only what is offered by sacred love. So everything that comes to our life, just take it as a prasad. It's very hard, because again and again, something or the other expectation or demand will come up, but one will have to just be vigilant enough and not to hanker in yearning, expectation, and desire, but to take things that are happenings in life as prasad and move on in our life. So yeah, and be content with that little prasad that we have got. So yeah, please share if any more reflections, and also any more reflections on what is the need of desire in human existence. Why would desire exist if it is unholy? Yeah.
One thought that comes about desire is it actually just an indication that when we are all unique, and like one set of words from the mother, was saying that, look, if you're looking for what you are to bring into the world or what to do with one's life or even a profession, occupation, is like, see what you're good at. What is your unique thing? And perhaps the desire is meant to be seen as, oh, what is it that is with my unique nature and tendency, yet to be done then or followed through on without attachment to the result or without a very set idea, so done as this is an indication of what I say. I use the example of something I enjoy doing and I'm good at, or I find there's a freedom in doing it, there's an ease, then that might be indicated through a desire. I want to do that thing or that activity. And yet then to get any set rules such as, oh, I have to make money with it, or I have to make a set amount of money with it, or it has to become a full-time profession, or it has to be done in this country, this place, this situation, perhaps all that needs to be dropped, just seen as an indication and not more, and definitely not to put walls around it and set ideas.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for sharing, Swapna. Yes. Anyone else on why desire exists at all in human life, or anything else that you want to share?
Hi, Monica.
Yeah, Kumlaji, please go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, so I was just thinking about desire. Basically, I feel desire is related to joy and happiness, pleasure, basically. We find pleasure when we desire something, it's associated with pleasure, it gives us pleasure. But अगर मैं हूँ तो मुझे कुछ चाहिए भी. So if I exist, I am there, I am living. So I would need things, I would desire things. But क्यों होना चाहिए is still a question. But hey, I'm still thinking.
Yes, please take your time. Yeah, absolutely with you in this thinking out loud. Yeah. Anyone who wants to share more? So, Sri Aurobindo and Mother, I think there is where I read reason, the reasoning mind. Reason is the helper, reason is the bar. So that's what they say, and I've reflected upon it a couple of times. That a man of reason, Mother says, that he can go very far into this journey called life, but then towards another phase, you have to take a leap of faith where reason will not be able to work. The logical reasoning mind will not be able to work, because the divine is not limited. The ways of the divine, the ways of the higher intelligence, they are not limited to reason. Reason is a creation from that higher intelligence. It has a beautiful purpose, but at some moment of our life, the reason has to fail. The work is over. Of reason, work is over. And then something higher takes over. So that's what they say. The reason is helper. Reason is the bar. The reason will not let you go further in your journey if you do not kind of put it aside at the right place, where you see that the reason is just making my path further. It's blocking my path basically. So reason is the helper, reason is the bar. Just like that, ego is the helper, ego is the bar. And along with that, I think, again, coming from my own experiences, I feel that desire is actually a helper and desire is a bar. Now, why is desire a helper? Because desire has an intensity. Those of us who have actually desired passionately for something, we all know that it has an intensity to it. It has a energy with it, desire. And whenever we want to move ourselves from our comfort zones or inertia, so-called tamas, we all have tamas in our life, and we get very easily settled in our little comfort zones. Yeah, we don't want to progress further. I feel that their desire or anything intense like pain, suffering, even jealousy, because jealousy is also full of intensity, hate is full of intensity. So these kind of things can act to move me from that little piece of rock where I have stabilized myself. Although when followed to a greater degree, all these are very, very extremely dangerous. And we all know their danger, desire, the danger of desires, excessive desires, the danger of jealousy, the danger of hate, danger of being angry, resentful. So all the misery of being in suffering and pain for a longer duration of time. Yeah, excessively, we are just prolonging our misery and suffering. So I feel that all these so-called unpleasant sensations or movements in us, they have a particular purpose to move us from inertia where we have gotten too settled and satisfied with ourselves, not progressing much in life. And once they have done the movement, then their task is over. Then if I excessively follow all these movements, I will land myself up in trouble. I will just spoil and put out the light from the lamp, which is the light of contentment, the light of peace and happiness within myself, not coming from any external sources. So that's how I would see that it has a necessity as well, but then it is very, very dangerous if excessively followed to a greater extent. Yeah, and please, I would welcome all of you to share reflections on this. Yeah. For example, if I'm just very lazy and I'm just giving a very physical example. I'm very, very lazy and I'm just sitting all the time in the bed, not really doing anything much thing. But if I have a desire to have a cup of tea, that desire will actually make me move from the bed and make my body move a little. So that desire makes me move from the inertia of settling down with myself. Although if I excessively pursue the pleasure that we get, Komlaji was sharing that we get pleasure, certain pleasure from desire. But if I excessively follow that pleasure or the desire, then the troubles begin to enter in our life. So I think all of us learn through our own mistakes. At least I have done and keep doing a lot of mistakes, and only then these things, kind of begin to make sense that yes, it is perilous to follow or run after excessive desires. Yeah.
There's something else that was coming to me, Monica, about desire was like, why is it there? I mean, I don't know the source of it as such, but I realized that there's like that passage, the mother uses an example of someone who was desiring, they were at the theater and somebody behind them couldn't see as well. And so she just moved her chair back. She wanted to watch the theater as well. She wanted to watch what was happening, but she noticed this other person had a greater yearning and really couldn't see. So she just very casually moved her chair back, right? So that this other person had a better view. And the pleasure that gave, or the freedom or sense of but to me, it came, what I remember is a sense of freedom, a sense of expansion that came with giving up her desire, right? And I've seen that in myself of, I agree with what you're saying, that absolutely, I want a cup of tea, it gets me moving, or I want to get something done, it helps. And this, the joy or the expansion that comes from giving it up or being able to drop it, whether it's for another human being or simply in the thing of, wow, I'm not getting what I want, so I'm going to just drop it and leave it to, God to show me the next step. And that's why it's there. It's just to be a contrast.
That's beautiful, beautiful, Swapna. Yeah, absolutely with you. Yeah, I think glad that you touched this point. So it seems from your sharing that the desire, a desire, if I'm really desiring and running after my desire, it constricts me. And then to see the opposing side of this duality, the contrasting side that as you were sharing, when I give the desire up, I feel this expansion and joy in the being, as the example that you shared, where mother gave the chair up, or adjusted a little, uh, left her desire of looking at the theater intensely and allowed the other person to see, and that expanded something in her being. Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Makes so much of sense. Yeah. Yeah, so continuing with desire, there was something more, verse number 14 here, Gitanjali. My desires are many, and my cry is pitiful. But ever didst thou save me by my hard refusals, save me by hard refusals. And this strong mercy has been wrought into my life through and through. Day by day, thou art making me worthy of simple, great gifts that thou givest to me unasked. This sky and the light, this body and the life and the mind, saving me from the perils of overmuch desire. There are times when I languidly linger, and times when I awaken and hurry in search of my goal. But cruelly, thou hidest thyself from before me. Day by day, thou art making me worthy of thy full acceptance by refusing me ever and anon, saving me from perils of weak, uncertain desire. So I found this one also beautiful, and again inclining with desires, the previous verse. So please take your time. Let's take a pause and share reflections.
Hi, this is Chitra. So I just wanted to just share this, that if we didn't have any desires, so don't you think the life would be so meaningless and boring? Uh, so I think desire plays a very important role in helping us achieving what we actually need to, whether it is uh, the day-to-day things in your life or achieving spirituality or anything. The desire for reaching to that realm also can help you achieve that. If you don't have any desire, so I think that would be so, the life would be so meaningless.
Yeah, with you, Chitra ji, absolutely.
Yeah, so this just came to my mind, that we need to have some desires, good or bad. Obviously, then we can always control our desires. If we think that will harm anybody or affect anybody in a negative way, we can always control that. But yes, desires do play a very important role in our life. Without desire, I think the life would be like too boring. Too boring.
Absolutely with you. I think you said it beautifully, that it makes us move. And then whatever my desire is, so if I keep a check, we have minds
Yes.
also to see and keep a check. And we can keep a check whether that desire is actually leading me to a healthy place. And then slowly all the desires can actually go towards, I think mother or someone, I don't know who says they say that if you want to really desire,
Hmm.
desire for the highest.
Yes.
And that is what you were sharing, that it makes us go forward, it makes us achieve things
Achieve
in life.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah. When we find ourselves in darkness, in challenges, if there is no desire towards finding light, how would we move in a
Yeah.
challenge? Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah, absolutely with you. Yes. Yeah, so let's take a pause and then study this one also and share our reflections. Yeah, whenever anyone is ready, please unmute and share.
Can I? This connects to the previous one also in some ways. Let me give a slightly different interpretation from what we have been discussing. See, the desire has its roots in the past, because we can't have a desire which doesn't have its origins in the past. At the same time, desire resides in the future, because desire is something that you aspire to. It does not already happen. We are looking forward to. So that's in the future. So in terms of a time scale, your burden, which he spoke about in the previous poem, that is in the past. Whereas the desire, even though its origins are in the past, it lies in the future. So it is a suggestion that we are either living in the past or we are living in the future. We forget that there is something called today and this minute and this instant, which is available to you. And we have, that's why he's saying here, day by day, thou art my living worthy of the simple. That is, today I have, and I fail to recognize what I have. And I am either mourning about what I don't have, I have lost in the past, or I may not have in the future, forgetting that I have in the present what I have. And I must recognize that. And that's the way to live. And that's the way to surrender to love. I think that's the connection that I make out.
Yeah, beautiful, Uniji. Thank you so much for connecting that. It really makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, anyone else who wants to go next?
I could offer what I saw. So this, my desires are many and my cry is pitiful. Is it, to me, it indicates the times, again, when I'm so full of I want, you know, and I need, and someone else should change, and, you know, just the, yeah. And therefore the cry is pitiful because it's painful, wanting things to be different, people to be different, or just longing and running after things. And then the ever didst thou save me by hard refusals. The number of times the door is closed or things seem apparently not what I want or not getting a desire, you know, but I was saved. So yes, it also, this whole thing, this whole passage or poem reminds me of when Sri Aurobindo's yoga, they talk about not having a preference, right? That state of not having a preference and seeing what comes. And so this, being saved by the hard refusals. And then the strong mercy has been wrought. So wrought is like wrought iron, you know, being beaten. And so the number of times when I haven't received something or things haven't gone the way I want, and therefore it's made me who I am and has brought my life to this current moment. You know, so the mercy and the grace of not having desires met. And then day by day, thou art making me worthy of the simple great gifts. And to me, that's by this refusal and being wrought, by being beaten, which Rumi also uses a lot of, right, of metal being beaten. It's making me worthy and capable of seeing the simple things such as sky and light. And I sometimes find myself personally, if I'm feeling miserable or burdened, just to start making a thankfulness list. And I'm just giving simple things like 10 fingers, 10 toes, or that I can get out of bed and get myself my own breakfast, or, you know, just things like that, just everyday things that there's so much grace in it. And the life and the mind saving. Yes, so basically, this being saved from the perils of too much, which I think I said in the first sentence, of just like the dangers of wanting, and being saved from it. And then this next line, I'm a bit uncertain, but as I contemplated, I went to like, okay, at times when I languidly linger and times when I awaken, it's like in my search for the deepest longing, the truth, which is spiritual. So at times I'm lingering, meaning I'm taking the wavering path, or not being intense in my search towards really what I deeply, truly want. And times I run after it and I pull on it. But either way, it's like cruelly, I find this interesting, maybe you'll say more about it. Interesting that he uses the word cruelly, but it's like, okay, it stays hidden, the true answer to my true longing stays hidden, you know. And perhaps it's the desire in this moment I go to. It's the desire that blocks me from that true satisfaction. And then again, this day by day, thou art making me worthy of thy full acceptance by refusing me ever and anon. So it's like now, even the anon being, ongoing and in the present, not giving me what I superficially think I want, like things on the outside. And that you're saving me from these dangers of, because desire is fickle. I might want it today and I don't want it tomorrow, or I want it in this minute, but I don't want it, later in the day. It can be that fickle. So just indicating that nature or that aspect of desire, and ultimately it seems to boil down to, it's like, let thy will be done, from that soul's point of view of something higher, bringing me to that state. Thanks.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, anyone who wants to share next? Okay, so I will share in case not anyone is sharing right now, but please, more reflections if ready anytime, just unmute and share. So I think Unniji and Swapna both have kind of nailed it, in the sense that Unniji started with, that desires are coming from the past, because if I have not seen something in the past, how can I desire for it? So desire absolutely is rooted in the past. And then it gives me a promise that if given, if granted, it will bring me peace, contentment, satisfaction in future. So when I am desiring in this moment, when I am desiring, I am actually not here. Unniji was sharing, that I'm missing out on my moment. I'm missing out day to day, great little gifts of life, being alive, being breathing, being able to move my hands, being able to get myself a cup of tea, just being able to be alive and kicking. That itself, we take it so much for granted. We think that ye to sabke paas hota hi hai, everybody has it. So I should, I don't need to be thankful for that. But then I think Komla ji was sharing recently when she recovered from the illness, and she shared that to be normal feels like a gift. I think this only we recognize when things first get lost from us, and then when it is given back to us, then in that moment we recognize, oh my God, living a so-called normal life, which we took as entitlement, is such a big gift and something to be really grateful for, that you can breathe easy, walk easy, you can, you have a house to live in, you can make your food, there is no dearth of scarcity of food in your house. So all these little things begin to get more meaning when we are neither in the past and not in the future, because of the hard refusals, because of the desires not being met. And this hard refusal is actually, on the face value, it appears like a hard refusal. It appears very cruel, but it is actually very karunamay. It's full of mercy. He says that this strong mercy has been hammered, wrought, Swapna was sharing, wrought, hammered into my life through and through. So although you refuse me cruelly by not granting my desires, yet I know that how beneficial it is for me to come back again and again to this very moment that is life. So that is, the beauty of this hard refusal. And then when I come back to this moment, not my desires met in any direction, hopeless almost, nirash hoke, external life say, when I come back home, if I am lucky, I would be able to see that it's enough. I am enough. There is no need to run or hanker after things. I may still go after things, but not in this aggressive, manner which we usually do. Yeah, day by day thou art making me worthy. I am, as if I am now worthy of taking these little gifts of maybe sipping a cup of water. That itself, ask somebody who is not been able to sip a cup of water owing to some illness in the throat, and when then he sips a cup of water, he feels, oh my god, what a gift. Yeah, great gifts that thou givest to me unasked. Nobody asked for it. We were given this life, we were granted this, all these beautiful little gifts of life unasked. This sky, this light, this body, the life and the mind, saving me from perils of overmuch desire. So if you refuse and do not grant me my wishes and desires, I am actually saved from the perils of too much desire, which is nothing but misery, nothing but misery. Too much desire, over much desire. There are times when I languidly linger, and times when I awaken and hurry in a search of my goal. I think Swapna shortly reflected upon it. But here also, if we are running as if, Mother in prayers and meditations, she shares that the more I run towards the divine, the more the divine escapes me. So by running, I am saying, you are away, you are away. So I'm actually creating a veil in front of me, like a block of wall in front of me and the divine. If I say, that you are away, you are away, you are away, and I'm craving for you. So, but cruelly thou hidest thyself from before me. And good that you hide yourself when I am aggressively looking after you, because only then I settle down and I realize that you were forever there. One of the Kabir's couplet, this I get reminded of here. He said, "Daudat daudat daudiya, jahan lagi man ki daud, daud thake man sthir bhaya, to vastu thor ki thor." So he says ki I ran in every direction to hanker for something, to run after something. I ran in every direction. Daudat daudat daudiya, jahan lagi man ki daud. Jahan jahan mera mind leke gaya, I went in all the directions. But when I could not get contentment, peace, happiness anywhere, then the mind rested. It was just wasted of its futile efforts. And the moment it started to rest, it saw that the treasure that it was finding was right here, the treasure of contentment, peace and happiness. Yeah, so this resonated beautifully with the third line. And then he says, day by day thou art making me worthy of thy full acceptance by refusing me ever and anon, saving me from perils of weak, uncertain desire. Uncertain desire, because many a times it happens that there may be a thing that I'm wanting very aggressively right now, but maybe after some time I don't care about it. So it's very uncertain desire, a desire for higher, loftier things, what we call as divine or grace of God, or, being one with the divine. That is something that stays with us. But the desires for little things in our life, little moments in our life, we see that it is uncertain, it changes. What I was desiring a year ago, I'm actually not desiring that right now. So it keeps on changing, it keeps on wavering. And that's why it puts me in danger, because it makes me feel that the peace and happiness could be only have once the desire is met. And then I miss the contentment and peace that is right now with me in this moment, not in the past, not in the future. Yeah, so yes. So the refusal of not granting my wishes or desires, although it is very cruel, because when we are really wanting something, it appears how cruel you can be not to grant me this. One complaint can rise up in the being. So it may appear very cruel, but it's actually you are making me worthy so that I can be there content in the moment to moment life. Yeah. So please, if there are more reflections, unmute and share.
Monica, I just have a small thought. I just want to share that with everyone. So somewhere it's occurring to me that uh, I'm also kind of looking at it in the context of my own life and experiences, that each time I've had a desire which is more intrinsic in nature, it comes with a promise of delivering on it, or making me feel more satisfied in the long run. Like nobody can take it away from me. For example, let's say desire to learn anything, right? It's not really dependent on. Uh, I'm in charge when I have a desire like that, right? Like I'm toying with a ukulele these days, trying to learn the chords and realizing how hard it is, but just it fulfills that need in me to learn something new. Similarly, I'm going back to the example of that cup of tea. So the desire to have a cup of tea, um, it's going to, that the first sip of tea is going to make me feel a certain way, right? It will make me feel refreshed, or the warm liquid. Um, so even if it's not cup of tea, it could be, can it be something else? Can I create that feeling which I can satisfy on my own, rather than being dependent on external sources for it? So somewhere for me, what's emerging is that the more we are intrinsically capable of taking care of our desires, the more promise it has for deeper um, deeper meaning and fulfillment. I'm not sure if I'm able to make myself clear, but it just, these thoughts just came and I'm sharing with the group.
So you are sharing, Aditi, that this satisfaction that I get from a cup of tea, for example, or anything else for that matter, that I crave for, and I move my ass because of that desire. So this satisfaction that I am craving for, is it a possibility for me to be intrinsically satisfied? Is that what you're sharing?
Yes. Can I, while I have get to keep my desires, but slowly can I move towards a direction where these desires can be met more and more on my own? I should be. So Monica, I have always shared with you that I like being in control and in charge. And I'm actually thinking, can I use it to my advantage? That even my desires, I don't want to be dependent. I don't want external validation to feel fulfilled. Can I bring them all back into, intrinsic parameters of fulfillment? So yeah, to answer your question, yes, I was saying that, can that satisfaction be recreated with ourselves, rather
Absolutely.
than
Yeah.
be dependent on that outside thing or factor? Yeah.
Totally with you, Aditi, here. And I think that is our highest possibility that you are indicating towards, that this contentment that we seek through external measures, I think that is our true essence. That is why whenever we talk about, say, coming from scriptures, they say our essence is fullness. We are coming from full and we are full. The verse from Ishavasya Upanishad also. So I think that is the thing that you are pointing at, that is where we must be operating from, if we are to be using our highest possibility each moment, that I am full, and hence whatever I do, can I do that from this contentment, that this inner fulfillment, and not saying that I am incomplete, and only if I do that external thing or meet that external person, only then the fulfillment will arise. So I'm absolutely, I think you pointed us even towards a higher direction here, that it is not only a possibility, I think it is our birthright to work from this space of inner fulfillment, inner contentment, so that whatever desires are there in life, they would not be really able to then sway me off center, which usually desires do. They sway us off center, they make us feel incomplete, that I am incomplete if this and this thing is not happening in my life. So yeah, thank you so much for bringing that up. Yeah, anyone else? Anything?
I feel desire is about me, like mujhe chahiye, I want. Yes, and but sometimes there are desires where we need some validation from others, unless and until, suppose it's a desire to become a good singer, you know. There are two aspects. So I desire to be a good singer, but again at the same time I need validation from others कि मैं अच्छा गा रही हूँ या नहीं. You know, I want compliments. So that is not in my control. But at the same time, if you want to be a singer, that's your desire, and you sing well and it gives you happiness, and that your creativity gets a flow and a rhythm, so there you should not feel, where somewhere where you don't feel you need validation from others, wahan tak I think when it is in your control. You want to be a good singer, you're learning singing and you sing, it gives you pleasure and joy. That kind of desire where you feel, you know, it's under your own control. उसका एक नेक्स्ट स्टेप है where you need validation कि मुझे अब और लोग भी उसमें बताएं. वहां हम सैड भी हो जाते हैं, we not very happy always. So like just I think I don't somebody shared right now, no, that she's learning some musical instrument. So my sister is also here, so we both started learning mandala art. So yes, it gives us a lot of pleasure. We have nothing to do, so let's, why not learn something new, something artistic. So we started creating our own designs and mandalas. So that gives us a lot of satisfaction. That was a simple desire. वो ऐसा कुछ नहीं था that, you know, in future में कुछ करना है या कुछ creation करना है या कोई exhibition करना है, nothing. Not to be an artist and get validation, but a lot of satisfaction, a lot of happiness, and a lot of meditation we can do while doing that. So that kind of desire is important, where we don't need validation and it gives us happiness. Those keep us alive, agile, active, all in all ways, emotional. And but at the same time, जब हम बहुत ज़्यादा depend करते हैं, when we are very much dependent on other people's reactions and positive affirmations कि हाँ अच्छा ही है, not ready to take any negative criticism, criticism in a positive way. So there the desire becomes a burden, and there it becomes not very healthy.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Komla ji, thank you for sharing your reflection. I think that is why he here, it's not said that do not have a desire. There is no line which says I should not have a desire. He says you are saving me from the perils of overmuch desire. So I think there must be some balance there of the need of a desire in existence, in material existence, and the perils or the dangers of overmuch desire. So I think that is something which all of us can reflect upon in our day-to-day life, maybe in more vigilance, to see that what really desire makes us do, as Komla ji was sharing, and then where it becomes a danger or a peril, over much desire. Yeah, and then he also says, the last sentence he says, saving me from the perils of weak and uncertain desire. So again, there is something more here, I believe, maybe uh, too deep here to enter it fully. Let it reveal for ourselves in matter of time. The danger of weak and uncertain desire. So a desire which, where I'm not really sure, some part of me is totally not really convinced that I should be following this path, but yet I find myself again and again running after that particular thing or a life situation in life. Yeah, so this is very interesting. We can take it home also and keep on contemplating over it. Yeah, so I'll just take up the last verse for today I have. Yeah, so this is number 12, again from Gitanjali. The time that my journey takes is long, and the way of it long. I came out on the chariot of the first gleam of light and pursued my voyage through the wilderness of worlds, leaving my track on many a star and planet. It is the most distant course that comes nearest to thyself, and that training is the most intricate which leads to the utter simplicity of a tune. The traveler has to knock at every alien door to come to his own. And one has to wander through all the outer worlds to reach the innermost shrine at the end. My eyes strayed far and wide before I shut them and said, "Here art thou." The question and the cry, "Oh, where?" melt into tears of 1,000 streams and deluge the world with blood of the assurance, "I am." So this also I really touched me deeply, and I thought I'll just bring this up today. So let us take a pause and reflect. Yeah, please go ahead whenever you are ready.
I can start. So just overall, to me, it, in terms of my own experience of how, you know, running far, like he talks about, wildernesses of worlds and leaving my track on many a star and planet. And also this wander through all the outer worlds, like mirroring in my journey, you know, many countries, many cultures, many lifestyles, many people, relationships, situations, looking for that fulfillment, you know, looking for happiness, wellness. And ultimately, as we've often said, anything on the outside doesn't bring that, or wherever I may be, ultimately the most peaceful and the most well moments have been where, here it's indicated by, for example, you know, my eyes near the end, my eyes straight far and wide before I shut them and said, here art thou. And the question and the cry, oh, where? You know, I've literally said that to myself or to God as I ran around the planet in my lifetime looking for this answer. And I find it interesting. I would be curious to hear what you have to say about the blood of the assurance I am. I'm not sure about the word blood, but anyway, about the I am. So ultimately, it all coming down to the peace that resides within. You know, that when I just stop running on something for the outside and simply get quiet. And you mentioned about Komlaji being ill and then when she's well. Yesterday, I had a lot of pain in my body. And my sweetest moments were about half an hour where the pain was so intense in my back that I just had to completely sit still. I had been given some water and some food. I could very slowly eat it, and just peace dawned on me, despite the pain. You know, there was just an opening of utter gratitude that I could just sit there and be provided with some simple food and water, you know, and I was fine, I was safe, and all these other big issues in my mind meant nothing. And it was a moment of this, I am, or here art thou. So, yes.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, anyone who wants to share next? So I think I'll just go ahead if anyone is not right now sharing. Just please come up again if you have anything. So we'll just go one by one, and you can also add up in between. The time that my journey takes is long, and the way of it long. I think most of us can resonate with that. I came out on the chariot of the first gleam of light and pursued my voyage through the wildernesses of worlds, leaving my track on many a star and planet. I think also maybe a reference to where all we can go, without really truly knowing who we are. We have degrees, we earn degrees, we travel planets, not even, you know, continents, but also planets, as a scientist, as astronauts, we travel planets in order to really seek, we are seeking for something and we leave our track on, for example, the first time the man landed on moon, for example. Yeah. And all this is going on where I have not really found who I truly am. What he says later, it is the most distant course. It appears that my true essence is right here. That is what the irony is. The true essence is right here. But after years and years of searching, after lifetimes of searching, do I realize, so mystical it is, that after lifetimes, if I am lucky of searching, do I realize, here I am, here you are. Yeah, so he says it is the most distant course. Forget about traveling to the planets. They may be distant, but this course is the most distant, that comes nearest to thyself. So coming closer to my truth, coming closer to love, divine, who we are truly in essence, that is the most distant course. And that training is the most intricate, which leads to the utter simplicity of a tune. I think Rabindranath Tagore also was connected with music. So in many verses, we also see this connection or something coming from music that he reflects in the line. So maybe coming from there. And mother also shares that mother was in deep connection with Hazrat Inayat Khan, who himself was a musician. So I was just going through a little excerpt from his own life, and he shares a deep resonance that how music can be used in order to touch the depth of our being. How one can just become one with music. What he shares, how spirituality and music became one for Hazrat Inayat Khan. The two-ness dissolves and there is a oneness that is resonating through the tune. So maybe a reference to that music here. The traveler has to knock at every alien door. Yeah, there is a, okay. Yeah, sure, Aditi. Thank you for joining. Yeah. The traveler has to knock at every alien door to come to his own. I think all of us can resonate with this. Daudat daudat daudiya, jahan lagi man ki daud, we have to just try every other avenue out where to find this contentment, fulfillment. And finally, if one is lucky in this lifetime or maybe another, one has to wander through all the outer worlds, all the people, relationships, as Swapna was sharing. One has to go through all those disappointments, rejections, insults, all the criticisms, all the shutting of the doors. One has to go through all of them to reach the innermost shrine at the end. So how ironical also, because maybe something like divine comedy, that here you are right here sitting within me, and I have to first bang my head on each and every wall before I realize that here art thou. Yeah. The eyes strayed far, my eyes strayed far and wide. So actually my eyes deluded me. My eyes said, wahan milega. My eyes said, there you are going to get it. So I strayed, and I really strayed far and wide before I realized, and I shut them and said, "Hear out thou." The question and the cry, "Oh, where?" Then when the eyes are shut and I said, "Here is you, here you are." And then the question comes, the doubt comes from the mind. Where? Oh, where? The doubt, the mind is full of doubts. The question melt into tears of 1,000 streams and deluge the world with the blood of the assurance, I am. I think a reference to blood here, what according to my understanding is that, blood is our, it's like, we are made of blood. If blood is not there, we cannot exist. So it's a certitude that dawns in the depths of his being, which brings up this assurance, here I am. So the doubt creeps in from the mind, oh, where? But the doubt has no meaning, because the question melts into this assurance and certitude, where one just swells up in gratitude, knowing that no matter the mind has a doubt, but I know, here you are. Yeah, so I somehow connected it with that, but maybe there is something more to it. Yeah. Yes, so please share if anything else on this.
Monica, just a small point. I thought this second line where he refers to the stars and planets, I have a feeling that perhaps he refers to the futile attempts that we make through Jyotisham and the searches that we make to thinking that that might take us somewhere, because that was too early for him to envisage the landing of the moon. So my guess is that perhaps he is referring to that. I am not quite sure.
Quite possible, Uniji. Yes, quite possible. Yeah.
Monica, what was coming to me is like tying in even the other two that we looked at today and our discussion and my experience yesterday of this, being in pain and then having this beautiful, very tangible experience of just being really quiet and just being forced to just be, and if that simplicity yet depth and expansion of the, or in this one's, the here art thou, I am, but that sense, feeling, experience of peace and simplicity, of the grace of the present moment and the gifts of the present moment, if that energy and that vibration could infuse my activities when I am on the chariot, when I am following the indications that my desires take me into the world as I basically act in the world, whether it's in work or job or relationships. If that somehow that piece of the divine or simplicity of the present moment and its gifts can infuse that, the two combined seems to be the ideal. That then there could be this action, and perhaps that's what it must feel like if I use my imagination in this moment of when one is truly the instrument of the divine, and that it wouldn't feel so futile, or there wouldn't be the pain of desiring and then being attached and all that. There just wouldn't be room for attachment to a certain extent. There would just be more room of being the impetus or being propelled as an instrument.
Beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. I think that is a possibility, and that is where we must go forward. The ideal that you shared, the higher possibility. Otherwise, it is a path of suffering. So ordinarily for us, it is a path of suffering. But then once we understand why suffering is there, it can actually turn into a sunlit path, as you shared beautifully. Yeah. So shall we end here, if not anything? Yeah. Okay, great. So thank you everyone for joining, and thank you for sharing beautiful reflections and taking out the time to be there for the session. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.